was listening the whole time. I just got off work right now. Finally, I can say something. So, how are you guys doing?
Hello.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So I just didn't want to cut you guys off. So,
No. By all
yeah,
means. I mean, it's open forum.
inshallah. So I'm kind of new to this website, this server right now. I mean, my friends over here kind of invited me, and I've been listening the whole time from work now. So I got a ton of questions. So I don't know how time is for you guys. Would you guys
Well,
have the time or?
let's start. We'll see how much we can go through.
All right, then, mashallah. I like that. I like that. So first and foremost, I mean, well, so far I'm kind of curious what the server does. I mean, what's the goal of this server? I like that God alone, mashallah. That's really amazing. So is it just
Mm.
all Muslim place, or is it like anyone who seeks God, or is it what's it
So, I
doing?
mean, yeah, it's worth kind of expressing what does the term like Islam and Muslim and stuff mean. And for us, we follow the Quran alone. We call ourselves submitters because Muslim, when you use that term, people they have certain connotations, but it's a description of what we do. We submit to the will of God. When it comes to our religious laws, the only source we use is that of the Quran. And I would kind of leave it at that. I would distinguish us again from what Navid mentioned regarding Quranists, because Quranists assume let's look at the Quran, the Quran in a vacuum, right? And just try to apply all these principles without the hearing, the eyesight, and the brain, and try to come to understanding. But I think that's like from a high level. And the only intention is just to find other like-minded individuals
Mashallah, that's a good goal.
studies.
Mashallah, that's a good goal. So everyone is pretty much welcome here. Then anyone that would seeks
As long
God
as
is
they
pretty much
respect.
welcome.
Yeah, so it's interesting as a follow the Quran. You have to respect freedom of speech, freedom of expression. But then also as a masjid, if you think of it in the sense of masjid, there's certain rules and guidelines, just in the sense that we're going to, God willing, respect one another and try to be equitable to one another. And anyone is welcome to join as long as, again, their conduct is that of something that you would say, okay, this is acceptable in a,
Mashallah,
someone's
mashallah.
home or a masjid.
MashaAllah, that's very good. So I don't want to paint everybody in the same brush. I mean, is everyone here same like-minded, or are there people who are again like non-Muslims that do come listen? I mean, is it
Man,
or
we have a number of Christians that come. Some of them come just to evangelize. And again, as long as they're respecting the rules and stuff like that, I think it makes for a good conversation. We do
MashaAllah,
have a number
MashaAllah.
of submitters, people who are new to the faith, converts. So it's a gamut, but
So next question: are you guys like convert yourselves? Are you new to Islam, or have you like what's a bit of background? I mean, how did you come to this position you're in right now?
I'm sure everyone has their own story. For me, I was raised traditionalist. Went to all the Sunday school and Friday prayer, and then Muslim youth camp. And
Hold on. When you say Sunday school, what comes to mind for me? That's like a
Muslim
Christian
Sunday school.
thing, you know?
No,
So,
no, Muslim Sunday school with Balal. He would slap you with a ruler and throw chalk at you if you
I
misbehave.
see, I see. Karisa was always there, yeah, inshallah.
But
Pakistani
yeah,
teachers are always amazing at that.
I was in college, God's leave, I met someone. It was really interesting. This guy's like carries the Quran around with him. He's doing his salat irrespective where he is,
Allah
and
Akbar.
he just believed with such conviction. And what was interesting was he knew the Quran very deeply. Like up
Allah.
until then, the vast majority of people I engage with, they'd memorize portions of the Quran and stuff. But when it came to actual verses, they had very little knowledge. And
That's many people in that category for sure. May Allah increase the knowledge for us.
I mean, you think about the aspect of how many people they memorize Quran and they'll kiss it, they'll put it up on the shelf. When it comes to just the basic understanding, they disregard it. Like
Huh?
how many years ago
Absolutely.
to Friday prayer, and all they talk about is hadith and the life of the prophet, and very little mention of God. Like one thing that was fascinating to me is you walk inside a masjid. This is a masjid I would go all my life, and I never thought anything of it. It's like one day I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, they have God's name and Muhammad's name right next to one another. And if you didn't read Arabic, you wouldn't know which one's which.
I
And it was just
see. I see.
it's one of those things. Once you see it, once you see how Satan has kind of infiltrated
Hmm.
inside, all these religions, it's just like it's impossible not to see.
I see. So let me ask you this. So you were born in a Muslim household, Muslim parents, grew up in a Muslim household. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I only ask that question because it's very common. When somebody grows up in a Muslim household, certain words we pronounce it differently. There's certain conviction that comes with it. Just from the word. So I hear some words that you're saying. It's as if it's like someone new to Islam, and but it's all right, mashallah. It wouldn't change the outcome out, mashallah. So the main thing that I want to focus on here is when you say you submit to the Quran, right, and nothing else but the Quran. Does
To
that
God.
mean to God or the Quran?
God. I mean, if you submit to God, then you submit to God's word.
Can I ask a question about this? I don't mean to sidetrack, but when God told the angels to prostrate to Adam, who are they submitting to? Who are they worshiping? Adam or God?
Sorry, I just got a phone call. Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you guys hear me? I just got a phone call
Yeah,
that
yeah,
just cut
yeah.
me off.
Okay. So the question I had was when God told the angels to prostrate to Adam, were they submitting to Adam? Were they worshiping Adam? Or were they worshiping God?
Well, at this point, it's not even about worship. I mean, the question that I asked him was very simple. I mean, when he said, submit, and then, my
Well, I
question
just
was
want
very
to, right. I just want to get your answer on this though, because this is the verse in the Quran. What do you think?
well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the commandments. So, technically speaking, you have to obey the commandments of Allah, regardless. He gave the commandments. There
Exactly.
is no kitab. It was
Okay.
directly. So,
Right, right. So when God gives a command, even if it's to do something, you're worshiping the,
whatever.
the source of that command. Exactly. Okay. I just want to
Well,
clarify that point. Sorry, I apologize for interrupting.
no problem. Well, no, the only thing that I want to do is clarify certain words here because when you say submit and worship is two different things. Technically, they're not the same thing, right? You submit, like for example, right now, you submit to the laws of North America. I assume you live in North America from the accents, right? So you are following the law, meaning you're submitting to the law, but do you worship the law? No, you live by it.
Oh.
You're submitting to it. You're going by it. So those two words don't have the same meaning. They're completely two different things.
There's something interesting though. The word Islam, right? The other derivative meaning is peace. This is something
Absolutely.
that we do. Yeah, this is something that we do by choice. Because when you say submit, like this is one of the downsides of the English language. It seems like it's done unwillingly, right? And God distinguishes between that. That this is something we do out of choice, but we do it peacefully. We're basically releasing the onerous on ourselves and saying, look, God's in control. God's doing everything. So it's worth clarifying because it's a challenge sometimes,
Absolutely.
taking these words in English and the connotations they're associated
Yeah,
with.
totally agree with that. English is very much limited, especially when you're trying to put in, a religion from like Islam or, religion from God. You can't really put it in English. I mean, English is like must be it's very limited. But nevertheless, so you submit to the Quran, or how do
God.
you phrase it? I don't want to put words in your mouth. How do
Just
you
we
phrase it?
submit to God. If you believe that the Quran is the word of God, then ultimately you're submitting to God.
And does that mean that there's no hadith involved? You don't like hadith at all? I mean, there's no hadith
Only
involved. Period.
hadith, the only hadith we are to uphold according to the verses of the Quran is the Quran itself. Any other hadith and narration, and this could be the hadith in the traditional sense, narrations attributed to the Prophet or any hadith at that. Second, we start upholding any other narration that contradicts the Quran as a source of law. It shows that we don't believe God's words in the Quran, that it should be the only source of law.
All right. Have you heard of Hadith al-Qudsi?
Explain.
Hadith al-Qudsi are technically, well, they're called hadith, but they're not technically like any other hadith. They are the words of Allah directly, but they're not in the Quran. They're words that Allah has said, things that Allah has said from Him. No messenger, nobody else. It came directly from Allah, but it's not in the Quran. So it's called Hadith al-Qudsi.
Well, it's worth emphasizing. So the Quran, when it comes to wahi, right? The Prophet received wahi. That's a given, right? He
True.
received wahi that's not in the Quran. As far as the followers of the Prophet, what they're responsible for is specifically what's in the Quran. In Surah 18, verse 109, it says, "Say, if the ocean were ink for the words of my Lord, the ocean would run out before the words of my Lord run out, even if we doubled the ink supply." Saying that this is the only kitab, the only instruction we need from God in order to fulfill our obligation in this religion. Just pasted the verse.
Yeah. But also Allah does say in the Quran that in order to follow Allah, in order to worship Allah, you must follow His Prophet.
Absolutely.
There's a number of places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically even said you have to follow His Prophet. In many places it says even if you don't follow His Prophet, meaning you don't follow Allah, period. You don't worship Allah. Now, here's the question. Like right now, do you, let me phrase it this way. Do you follow Prophet Muhammad?
Well, absolutely.
All right. And the other question is, do you love Prophet Muhammad? Do you have any
Absolutely.
love for him? Is there any love?
Absolutely.
So
They're God's, prophets and messengers. They've God used them as a vessel to deliver this message to us. That,
absolutely,
we have to be eternally appreciative.
absolutely. But because Prophet Muhammad is directly our prophet, there's a sentiment, there's this closer connection we have to him being his followers versus all of the other prophets, which means we have a closer ties to him than the rest.
That's a problem. So 4 times in the Quran, God tells us do not make any distinction among God's messengers. The second we say that in essence we have a connection with this one over the others, we're forming a distinction. Yes, God blessed Prophet Muhammad with the delivery of the Quran. As far as we're concerned, we have to treat every prophet and messenger as one and the same. That they all came, they did God's work, they
However,
provided their duty, and if we, give one kind of how do you put it, superiority to the others, in essence, again, we're breaking a crucial commandment in the Quran.
well, I would say over here it depends on how you understand it. Because look at it this way. Although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says numerous times in the Quran, in fact, it is part of the 6 pillars of Islam to, not only acknowledge, but also to take or to, to believe in his prophets and the angels and the kitab, everything. It's the part of the faith itself. However, saying, we also know, for example, when you die, when we die and we go into the grave, we're asked a specific question, very specific question. Who is your Lord? What's your religion? And who's your prophet?
You showed that though from the Quran.
So do you not believe that you're gonna die?
No. Those questions. Can you show where that's stated in the Quran?
Well, this is some things we're gonna get to, but I just pointed this part out because there's a specifications for us to Prophet Muhammad. Then besides Isa, or to Moses. We love Musa alayhi salam. We love Isa alayhi salam. We love all of the other 124,000 prophets. But
where are you getting that number? Where do you get 124,000?
Again, we'll get to the hadith. Right now, this is just the preliminary here. This is just the beginning stages. Even
Can I ask
okay.
Can I ask something just a very preliminary? In the Quran, what is it supposed to say when you're asked what is your religion? What are you supposed to say? Do you have any verse that says the prophet religion of Muhammad?
Doesn't Allah not say وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ? Doesn't Allah not say, وَجَاهِدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جِهَادِهِ وَاجْتَبَاكُمْ وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ مِلَّةَ أَبِيكُمْ? This deen, doesn't Allah not say, there's numerous times in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He makes it specific for us that this deen, this prophet, this way is our way. Very specification. He doesn't mix it up with any other prophets.
So you
Munir,
don't believe in Millat Ibrahim then?
No. You have to believe in the Millah of Ibrahim. You can't even be a Muslim if you don't believe in all of the kitabs that Allah has sent or all of the prophets that He has sent. You have to. It's a condition of Iman. But
Munir,
this prophet, there's a specification for us in this prophet.
Where
Munir,
do you base life in the grave on? Like, do you get it from Quran or somewhere?
Well, this is a bridge here because you guys stand in a position where you completely denounce or reject that hadith. Now, in order for me to approach this in a way where, because the whole point that I want to do here is I want to set a communication between me and you guys. You guys stand in a place where there's no hadith and me getting, the Quran and putting it to a place where we can understand. At the moment, the only reason why I mention some of these things is because it shows the inevitability that one needs both. But we'll get to that. That's why I asked earlier if you guys have the time, because there's a lot to work on this thing.
Okay,
I
so
would say this: if I was talking with a Christian and I go debating with them with the Quran, right? They're not going to listen to me. I have to use their scripture to basically resonate my points because that's something that they say they uphold. It's kind of the same thing here. If you want to make an argument or a point, aspect is we have to be able to back it with the Quran. The second you're going to say, like, look, it's hadith, it's, these are all the narrators, this is, 200 people have validated this. It really doesn't hold any weight because,
Sure.
from my understanding, it's like, look, God is telling me that the only source of law for me to uphold is that of the Quran. If you can show me a verse or something, and then we could use that as a starting point, that it's going to be a more productive conversation.
Sure. But before we get to that, we'll get to the verses, inshallah. But right now, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to have an understanding of where you guys stand, right?
So I want to ask you the question. When someone asks you, what's your religion, what do you say?
Islam. I'm a Muslim.
And, and if they say, well, I don't know what that is. What is it? What do you say?
What do you mean? Everybody knows Islam. Everybody knows Muslim. The rednecks
I guess what I say.
The trailer parks. Everybody knows Islam, bro. Everybody heard.
Who's
everybody has heard of 9/11. Come on.
Who's the founder of your religion?
The founder of my religion. The question itself is wrong. That question itself is wrong.
Who's the founder of your religion?
That question itself is wrong.
So you don't answer that question then?
No, the question itself is wrong. Think of it.
Well, it's not a wrong question because the Quran tells us what to answer in this instance. So I can read the verse to you. You can tell me if you agree with it or not. 6161.
Sure.
Say, my Lord has guided me in a straight path, the perfect religion of Abraham. So God is telling us when they ask us about our religion, we tell them we follow the religion of Abraham. And I asked you, what religion do you follow? You said you follow the religion of Muhammad.
This is the trouble. Okay, let me ask you this question. Did Adam alayhi salam, was Adam alayhi salam not a Muslim?
He not by the name. He followed the commandments, but in terms of this full package religion that we have today, he didn't have it.
So earlier earlier the brother said we submit to Allah. And earlier he did say that one of the words of Islam is submitting. So did Adam not submit to Allah?
Yeah, no, he was a submitter as an adjective, not a noun. He was a submitter as an adjective, not a noun. But with Abraham, it becomes a noun. He founds the religion in terms of all these rites, practices, and worships.
Okay. But
do you understand this point, or do you want me to reiterate it?
No. What I'm trying to understand here is
It's really important, though.
But I'm trying to understand here is, are you saying that all of the other prophets, the majority of the other prophets before Ibrahim alayhi salam, what were they exactly? What were they?
They were adjectives, submitters to God. They followed the commandments, and they did what they were commanded.
And what were they commanded to do?
Commanded to worship God. We have their stories, right? So Noah has told his people, look, you worship God alone. Come with me. Accept what I'm saying. This basic premise of worshiping God alone. Did they have salat? Do you believe Noah had salat?
Did he not have a salah?
No, of course he didn't. We already told you.
So
Abraham
so
is the one
so
who started salat.
1,000. Nuh alayhi salam was on earth for 1,000 years, and he's never made a sujood in his life.
Oh, he can make sujood, but he didn't have salat.
You're contradicting yourself at the moment, because it's a salah. Sujood is a part of salah. There is nobody in the face of this earth who knows Allah that never makes sujood. The
No,
very
no.
angels were commanded to make sujood.
Yeah, but
Allah is the
you can
command.
do
But they weren't
sujood
commanded to make
without
salat.
the salat, right?
No,
I mean,
no,
this is
no,
what the
no.
Quran is
The
too.
whole, what is the whole point of a sujood? What's the whole point of a sujood? You put your
There's a
forehead on the ground. What's the whole point of it?
There's a difference
Yeah,
though
the
between.
angels. I was going to say the angels were commanded to prostrate. They weren't commanded to do salat. The sujood is a component of the salat, but just because somebody prostrates, it doesn't mean they're doing salat.
Yeah, like when you read Quran,
Okay,
there are
so
like after some
what's the
verses you
point of a
do
sujood? What's
sujood,
the
right?
point of a sujood? What's the point of a sujood?
Why
What's
do you
the
do
point of it?
sujood after you
Yeah,
read a certain verse from Quran where it's ordered to prostrate?
but I'm asking you, what's the point of a sujood?
Well, you tell me, do you do sujood after you read Quran and then you encounter a verse where you're ordered to prostrate?
Let's get to the Quran. Let's not jump yet. I'm asking here, what is the point of a sujood? What's the whole point of
Point is,
it?
yeah, I can answer that question. It's a form of worship to God. You're
A
submitting
form of
yourself to God. You could do that. You could do that, yes. And you could
okay.
do that. And I'm sure
And
Noah did. And I'm sure Abraham,
no,
I'm
no.
sure Adam did.
Who do you make a sujood to?
God.
Okay. So what happens if you make a sujood to anything else besides God?
You can't.
What happens if you do it?
You have
Shirk.
sin.
idolized something besides God.
It's an automatic crime. It's an automatic paganism. It's an automatic shirk. So the only being, I shouldn't say being here, the only person you can make sujood to is Allah and no one else. And
Of
as
Brother
you
course.
Munir,
said,
I have a question for you.
and
So
as you said, sujood shows that you submit to Allah. It's a form. It's showing to submitting to Allah.
Yeah,
So
One sec.
we agree. What's your point?
my point
Jamal,
here is,
Munir, one sec, Munir. Camry, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
yeah, so Brother Munir, you said sujood is putting your forehead on the ground, correct?
well, it's a part of it. Yes, sure. Let's go with that.
Okay, so how would the heavenly bodies, the trees and the mountains, which God says they prostrate to him, how would they perform sujood?
Are you saying that a human being and the trees have to perform the same type of sujood?
No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you're defining sujood as putting your forehead on the ground.
Again, I'm going from the point of view that beings who have life, who
No. You're going
you
from the point of view of salat.
can walk
Salat, we
around.
have
Let's not
this
put.
this physical prostration for us to put our forehead on the ground. Sujood, though, prostration
As a human
in the sense.
beings, yes. As
Well,
human
I
beings,
mean,
this is our
for
sujood.
us as human beings, do we not have other forms of technical prostration?
There's ruku'. You can say
No.
that's
I'm
prostration,
talking
but
about
then
other than putting your forehead on the ground. Are
no,
there other methods
no,
of sujood?
no. There's only one type of sujood for Ibn Adam, and as well as angels, and as well as the jinn. There's only one type of sujood, which is putting your forehead to the ground. If you're unable to because you're sick or can't move or disabled or whatever, there's other things for that. There's you work around with what you could do, but so long as you're able to move, your able body, the only type of sujood is putting your forehead to the ground. There is nothing else acceptable beside that.
Okay, I just wanted to extract that point of view from you. Thank you.
Yeah. So going
So,
back, so
I,
going back to the other
can I
prophets.
say something real quick?
Sure.
So I wanted to talk about this contradiction between talking about the previous prophets and messengers as people that were Muslims, in your words, Muslims, and they preached Islam. Their religion was Islam, they were Muslims, and then to turn around and say Muhammad is the prophet of Islam. Our religion came to us from Muhammad. That's a huge contradiction. And then
never
to
said
say
any of those things.
that Muhammad is the final prophet. Well, in order for him to be the final prophet of Islam, there would have to be prophets before him in Islam.
Exactly.
So our religion doesn't come from Muhammad. It came long before Muhammad. In fact, I would argue that Muhammad brought us literally nothing new, aside from maybe one or two adjustments here or there, like
be a little bit more generous. Be a little bit more generous than one or two. Say a few specifications that were given.
Okay, in Ramadan, it was previously forbidden to have sexual intercourse, and it was made permissible to do that through the Quran. So before that, it was practiced differently. But other than a few things here or there, there's nothing new. He's bringing us the same message that all the other prophets and messengers brought us. So to say Muhammad is our prophet and Jesus is their prophet, as if they are teaching two different religions, I think that's a contradiction.
Okay.
And that's part of the reason why we deliberately choose to call ourselves submitters instead of Muslims, because the word Muslim, if you ask somebody what is a Muslim, okay, it's somebody that follows the Quran and the Sunnah. Okay, well, that's not correct, because Jesus was
the religion
Muslim,
of
right?
Muhammad. No, this Muslim is someone that follows the religion of Muhammad.
Yeah, right. Which they would say is the Quran and the Sunnah. So, but that's not correct, because we just got done talking about how Jesus was a Muslim, Abraham was a Muslim. If a Muslim is somebody that follows the Quran and Sunnah, then they were not Muslims. And when we choose to call ourselves submitters, it's a deliberate thing to make it very clear that we follow the universal religion that transcends all of the prophethood, all of the scripture. It's the same religion given to all the believers of the past. Like if somebody said I'm a Jewish Muslim, you'd be like, you can't be a Jewish Muslim. You're either Jewish or you're a Muslim. But we say you can be a Jewish submitter. That's why we call ourselves submitters and not Muslims, because it's a transcendent name.
Hey, Abdo, wait. Okay.
Let me say something. First of all,
no, you're next. I just want to
ahead.
make sure. Let's I think we're doing a good job as far as taking turns. But inshallah, if you want to talk, let's put our name in the VC1 chat, and then we'll just go in order if that sounds good. And hopefully, if the comments get too verbose, other people can comment to to curtail. All right, Munir, you're next, inshallah.
All right, for the record, I'd like to say it's one of the brothers here who said that the other prophets didn't pray, right? So I've never said that Prophet Muhammad is the only person who would get our Islam. In fact, on the contrary, the very point that I was trying to make is Islam didn't come with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's the last prophet, and as you said, he's the last prophet, and I totally agree with that. Which again, as you said, it points to there was a series of prophets before him. And for him to be the last, there's a specification that's a specific role that he's playing. Him being the last, him being, given multiple, elevations. And also in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that he has preferred some of the prophets over other prophets. So I remember there's one brother who said that we can't, what's the word he said? He said we can't put above some prophets over the others, or something along those lines. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does say that in the Quran multiple times, that we prefer some prophets over the others. And he also said in the Quran that there are some prophets in whose stories he's told us, and many more that he has not told us. Right? So with that,
messengers.
Wait.
Messengers, not prophets.
Well, both messenger and prophet here, they play, although they have two specific roles, nevertheless, some are prophets alone and some are both prophets and messengers.
Right, but the verse you're talking about says messengers.
Wait. Jamal, did you have a comment you wanted to make, Jamal?
Like regarding the prophets, like maybe even God can make distinction, but we can't. But I feel like we're kind of beating around the bush. Can we kind of go more to the central issue of the discussion? Like, what are you aiming at, Munir, here?
Well, what I'm aiming at here is
Wait, Munir, we'll go in order. I'll put you. So next is going to be Navid, and then Abdo, and then Munir. You can go after that. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a correction. I think it was said that the verse says that we tell you about some prophets and we don't, but that's not accurate. The verse has talked about messengers, not prophets. But I mean, take that as you like. The other issue is that it's true. God and the angels can prefer some prophets over others, but we can't. We are told in at least 4 verses not to make any distinction over any prophets. However, since you decided to go that way, I just wanted to ask and see if you are aware of this. Do you know about the 4 honored prophets in the Quran?
Before you
Do
answer,
you know who they are? Yeah.
It's actually 5 ulul azmi min ar-rusul, but I don't want to butt in there. Somebody else is trying to.
hey, just hold that response, Munir, because then you can give it when it's your turn. Navid, is there anything else?
No. That's it. No, well, I guess. Well, let me just finish my point about the religion. So when I said I gave multiple verses, I don't know if our brother is following along at VC1. Multiple times in the Quran, it says people ask you about your religion. What do you do? What do you practice? What do you worship? How do you do this? How do you do that? Almost every time it says we follow the religion of Abraham. So when I asked the brother, what religion do you follow? And I didn't hear a clear answer. It's very clear in the Quran. We say we follow the religion of Abraham. So to say that Abraham is not part of us, or he's not our prophet, or has nothing to do with us, this is contrary to the Quran. And nowhere in the Quran does it say that we're supposed to tell anyone that we follow the religion of Muhammad. Actually, the Quran itself tells Muhammad that you have to follow the religion of Abraham. So there's an existing religion with the existing practices, all brought down by Abraham. So we're talking about all the 5 pillars, the Salat, Zakat, Hajj, and the fasting, and everything. It came down from Abraham, and when it got to Prophet Muhammad, he had an intact religion. This theory that the Prophet Muhammad inherited or started or founded all these practices is just simply not true. We can read the verses of the Quran, they're very clear on the subject. So if that's the case, then we have to acknowledge that. Also, the other verse, sorry, I just want to say this really briefly, 2278, because this was asked. In terms of the name of our religion, we also learn in the Quran, 2278, it started with Abraham. So Islam, or submission to God, as a noun, right? Before that, the prophets and messengers, they could worship God alone, and they can be submitters as an adjective. Now it becomes a noun with Abraham. We have all these specific rites and practices and rituals. And so it gets down to the Prophet Muhammad. He's commanded to uphold this exact existing religion, and he does. And that process continued all the way to us. We filter the Quran. We filter all the practices used in the Quran. We have a purified religion. We're very blessed here. The people that are hearing this message here in this group are very blessed, because for the first time, we have a pure, I guess in the modern era, obviously with each of the prophets, we're all blessed. But now in the modern era, we have a pure religion that we can purify through the Quran with all the original practices passed on from Abraham to Muhammad directly to us. That's what I want to say. Thanks.
Abdo, you're next.
I think Naveed said everything that I was going to say. I was just going to correct some things, like Quran says there are messengers that we didn't tell you about, not prophets. The distinction thing, yeah, God makes distinction, we don't. And the Quran mentions the distinguished prophets, and none of them, and it doesn't include Muhammad on the list. So yeah, that's all I was going to say. So whoever wanted to talk next can talk.
Munir, you're next. But before if anyone wants to talk, just put your name in the VC1 chat, and then I'll add you to the list. Munir, go ahead.
Okay, so there's a number of things here that are said, and I don't think I can go through all of them. I don't think I can remember all of them. But let me point out one thing. The prophets that Allah has preferred, ulul azmi min ar-rusul. I believe the brother said there's 4, but there's actually 5. And the brother now just said that Prophet Muhammad is not a part of that prophet. He's not a part of those prophets. That's incorrect. Because Prophet Muhammad has a stage that Allah has given him that's superior to all other prophets. And I know this word superior is going to bother you guys, but I will say it. He is superior to the other prophets. And this is shown to us in numerous times. For example, I don't know whether you guys believe it or not, because it's part of mostly hadith recorded, but also in Surah Al-Isra and Surah Al-Najm, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken his prophet to the sama, to the other realms. And before he actually went there, he was taken to Jerusalem. And I don't know if you guys believe it or not, or whether you acknowledge it or not, that it was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who led all of the other prophets in salah. Now, I don't know whether you guys know this or believe this or even aware of this, but when someone leads the salah, especially in Islam, and I'm using the word Islam in specifically Islam here, and for a reason, but inshallah, maybe some other time I will go through that. When someone is in leadership and is leading salat, this means this person is the leader, the imam. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has reserved this position for Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Not only that, it's also mentioned in the Quran that way before we all came down to this world, started to live life in this world, there was promises made. We all made a promise to Allah, every single one of us. And the prophets had a unique or secondary, covenant with Allah. And that covenant was that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is different than them. And not only is he different, but if he was to come in their time, that they would have to stop whatever they were doing and assist him. Again, this shows us the superiority of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, however, out of the humbleness of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the fact that he knew us, his followers, and the people in general, we have this, misunderstanding of religion that we would cross the boundaries and say things we shouldn't have said. Therefore, he said, don't prefer me over the rest out of humbleness. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has preferred him out of all of the other prophets, specifically for the very reason why we say, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and numerous times where Allah has put Prophet Muhammad second to him. After his name also, you have Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This shows that Allah has preferred him over the rest. And not only the Prophet, but all other beings, which even mean that Prophet Muhammad is superior to even the angels and all of the other creations. Now, whether you believe that or not, because that's in the hadith, it's totally up to you. However, what we have to acknowledge is, and the whole issue that I actually wanted to talk about, the very thing that brought us here is the hadith thing. Now, if I remember in the beginning that one of the brothers said, he gave an example. He said, if you're talking to a Christian and you get him ayats of the Quran, they won't acknowledge it because they don't believe it. It's, this is the trouble that I'm having with you guys, because multiple things that...
Can I say something?
No, Navid, hold up. Hey,
Okay,
Munir,
okay.
can you wrap up this point? There's some other people who want to talk
Oh,
as
sure.
well.
Okay.
Put your name on.
All right, okay. So just let me finish with this. Well, actually, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean,
Somebody else.
we'll have more time, inshallah,
Okay.
to get around. So,
Okay.
Jamal, you're next, and then Navid, you're after that.
Okay, so brother Munir, like you are starting to cite hadiths again, but as you already know, like we don't really necessarily believe in hadith. So in order for our discussion here to be productive or to have more sense, I think we should basically start by discussing, like, should hadith be a source of religion or faith, or shouldn't they be? Because like you can cite hadiths until tomorrow, like we're just gonna say we reject them. So I think we should just start to debate, are hadith at all relevant and source of faith or not? So my speech here, to sum it up, is like, let's focus our discussion on that, because if we go back and forth citing hadiths, we're not gonna get very far.
If we do a debate, just heads up. So right now we're in VC1 chat. It's just a general conversation. We're sharing ideas. But if we opt to do a debate, I would say let's move to the stage. And in essence, we can just have, a representation. Munir, obviously, I think it would be you on your side, but someone else. So then that way just be more appropriate. If you guys want to, just maybe if we can do a vote or something like that in the VC chat, we can.
My only concern is I think there's a lot of people that are listening that don't necessarily have access to their phone. I know when I'm driving and stuff, I just have my phone somewhere and I'm just listening, and I'm not necessarily in the VC. So I feel like we have a lot of
Okay.
people here, and maybe they're just listening. So maybe we could just
What we
continue
could do,
so
yeah,
everyone
if
can
we want to
benefit.
do a formal, and Munir, it's up to you too. If you guys want to do a formal debate, then what we'll do is we'll just have Munir and someone else just have a conversation. Inshallah, I'm more than welcome to moderate, and then just make it more like that. But if we want to continue just an open dialogue, that's game two. Navid, you're next, and Cam, you're after that. And then hopefully just put in VC1 which format you guys would prefer.
Yeah,
Navid,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
okay, I'm okay with just continuing the way it is, and then if you want, I can talk, or you can talk, or someone else can talk as a representative, and then everyone else can just listen and be one on one, I guess. But I'm okay either way. But I just think we should remain in this channel right now because we have everyone here, and it's just a lot of people might not have access to the phone and they're just listening. But what I wanted to say is I'm hearing a lot of hadith. Obviously, this was addressed that we don't even accept hadith. But even if we want to go to this point about hadith in the Quran, right? It's very clear. So every time the word hadith is used in the Quran, if it's referring to anything other than the Quran, it's used in a negative way, right? And so the question that always arises is, okay, well, did God know the future? Right? Because some people say, well, there's a bunch of words in Arabic. Maybe there's 10 words that mean narration, and we have like other examples in the Quran. Why did God choose hadith? And so it says, which hadith other than this do they uphold? The Quran is not a fabricated hadith. It provides the explanations for everything. And there's so many examples of this, right? So the idea is that, look, we have a complete religion. This shows that we have a difference of understanding of our religion, right? Someone asked me, what's your religion? I say submission. I said, who founded your religion in terms of the practices of worship and everything you have? I say Abraham. This is verse in the Quran, right? Someone asked me, who are the honored prophets in the Quran? I say there's 4 of them: Abraham, Moses, Abraham, Moses, David, and Jesus. There's 4 of them, and they're all mentioned in the Quran. Obviously, I'm not going to go through hadith and come up with this stuff. And actually, the Quran contradicts the claims that were made because it says Muhammad was no more than the messenger than the messengers before him. And then Muhammad himself is commanded to say that you're no different than from the other messengers. So he's not even authorized to say this. So if there's any hadith claiming that he said other than this, it definitely cannot be true. But also, there were a set of verses that I put in chapter 69 that talked about the fact that, look, Muhammad was ordered to bring the Quran. Had he brought any other teaching, whether it's talking about camel urine or flies or beheading people that leave the religion, or any of these laws, regulations, and things that are attributed to the Prophet in the Sahih Hadith, if we are to uphold the Hadith sciences, none of those can be valid. If we're at a very significant junction here. Either we accept the Quran as Furqan or we don't. If the Quran is Furqan, then it's the statute book, it's the book of laws. Nowhere else can there be laws. And the Prophet is among those who must uphold this. We have an example, we talked about it in chapter 66, Tahrim. It says, this is even a hadith that came out of the Prophet's mouth. We have verification because God told us. He says, no one is allowed to say this. The Prophet is not allowed to say anything other than Quran. We have many, many examples of this. So the concept is, look, we have a full religion. I put the verse 2278. It says, he is the founder of our religion, Abraham. He named us submitters. When we're talking about submission, Islam as a noun, it came from Abraham, not Noah, not Adam, not Saleh, not Hud, not Idris, right? It's Abraham. Muhammad is commanded to follow the religion of Abraham. It's a full functioning religion. What role does hadith have in a full functioning religion when the Prophet is alive and during his life, God commands him, follow the religion of Abraham. He knows what that means. He says, pay zakat. He knows what zakat is. He says, pay, do the salat. He knows what the salat is. Sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
No worries, man. You're next. Cam, did you mistake that? I thought you asked to speak. You still around? Okay, perfect.
Oh yeah, I'm here. No, I just wanted to say exactly what I believe it was Jamal said it. So I mean, I know he was bringing up that, we didn't accept hadith, so I was like, okay, we could just, stick to Quran since we both believe in the Quran and uphold it. But yeah, it was already said, so all good.
Mashallah. Jamal, I believe you were next, then Munir after.
No, it's Munir, I think. I didn't apply again.
Okay. Munir, go ahead.
Give me a second. Just sip some water. Okay. I like enthusiastic here. Very nice, very nice. But this is the trouble that I'm having. Didn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not give authority to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam?
He did.
Sir. He did. Okay. Now, as the authoritarian who Allah has given him, there are things that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has commanded the Sahaba to do.
Sorry, 1 second. He didn't give him authority to like speak of his own accord, but he gave him authority to like rule, be a state like leader, military leader, tribe leader. But like in matters of
Well,
faith,
let me ask you this: was
Munir,
Rasul
just-
sallallahu
yeah,
alayhi wa sallam like a drone controlled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Didn't he not have his own freedom in
Yeah.
terms of how
Wait.
he taught Islam?
So Munir, why don't you
His way.
make your full comment with the question, and then we'll pass. Otherwise, it's going to get into a back and forth. A bunch of people are going to jump in. So make your point, and then before you end, just pose the question you want answered, and Jamal, I'll put you next. Sound good?
All right, okay. So Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was given the authority, meaning Allah has given him the permission how to teach his, followers. And the things that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, done, the things that the Sahaba have observed him, the things that they did in his presence that he accepted or didn't accept it or said nothing of it, whatever it may be, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum have recorded all of those things. Right. So my question is, when you guys are rejecting hadith, are you also rejecting all of these things? Or are you just simply rejecting the things that the Sahaba have heard Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they say, we heard this and that? Which are you rejecting? I mean, I want to know exactly. Because I get confused with you guys when you say we specifically only follow the Quran, but at the same time neglect the interpretation of the Quran given by Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who are not directly in the Quran. Because as the teacher of the Quran, he had to say of what Allah is meaning here. And not only that, there are things in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, that the ayats in the Quran are muhkamat and mutashabihat. And who does he say know the mutashabihat? He says the ones who are founded in knowledge. Now, who are they? Out of respect, we look to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba and the Tabi'in and the rightly guided people. Right? I'd like to pass it on to somebody else now.
Okay. Just getting a pulse. Munir, are you comfortable with the format? I want to make sure because it's like there's a lot of us and one of you. I want to just make sure we're respectful.
Well, the thing is, personally, from a personal point of view, I don't like debates. And the simple reason because debates, it disregards respect. It goes into a place where it's like getting points from people. And
Exactly.
I really don't like that. I want this to be something where we can both learn from each other, and not only us, all the people listening.
Oh, yeah,
and
we're in the
debates
exact
really gets rid of all of those things.
in Surah 16, verse 145.
But at the same time, it would also be good. But at the same time, it would also be good if there's one person that's, since you guys all stand in the same position, if there's one person that you guys feel comfortable with, who we can,
Yeah, it's much better in this, in my opinion. Just like everyone chime in, because we're trying to avoid is where it's like, oh, we refer to our scholar or a sheikh to answer for us. It's like all of us are trying to learn and understand.
Exactly.
So it's good more people to chime in and give their 2 cents. But yeah, we're 100%. We want to make it a respectful environment. Mashallah, you're being very, you're not aggressive, you're not belligerent like some people we've had in the past. So God willing, we can continue in this format.
There's absolutely
Jamal,
no use for that.
Paul, you're next.
Me?
Jamal.
Okay. So Munir, you mentioned Prophet Muhammad was given the authority but you didn't really specify what kind of authority. Basically, he was just conveying revelation, that everything that was related to him. He just announced it to the people, and but he had authority in this worldly matters, like he was a state leader, military leader, this and that, but those are not strictly religious things. So he didn't have any other sort of teachings, as someone mentioned, as someone posted, uh, Surah 75 verses 16 to 19, where he was where we are told that he's not the one explaining the Quran, it's the God who explains the Quran. Also, like you need to address so many hadiths which were fake, rejected, but and also the human factor, like when, for instance, Bukhari compiles the hadith, like which criteria does he use to compile them? He can Are you saying that he's infallible, that like 50% of our faith relies on Bukhari's judgment or some other human's judgment? And okay, I'm gonna keep it at that, not to bring up too many points at once to overwhelm you.
Munir, you can go next.
Sorry, I got a phone call. I
No.
I kind of missed the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, Jamal, can you just say that last question again? Or if you want, I can try to paraphrase.
Can you try it for free?
So he was saying, how do you reconcile, in essence, the hadith that were rejected by, say, for instance, Bukhari himself, or the followers that, in essence, there's some that they uphold and some they don't. So what do you do when you get to a crossroads like that? Is that a fair assessment, Jamal, as far as the
Yeah,
question went?
basically, like you say, when if you follow Bukhari's hadiths, if you take what he takes and leave what he leaves, basically you are following Bukhari's judgment. So how can you claim that Bukhari's judgment is perfect, infallible, or like without mistakes? Was he divinely guided? Because basically now Bukhari becomes our source of faith, right?
ونعوذ بالله ونعوذ بالله ونعوذ بالله. See, the thing is, no one is infallible. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, many people say they use that word with him, but to be honest, that's really not a correct term, simply because Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam was a human being. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept him from sins, from mistakes, and the ones that he did make, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala corrected him. There's only one person, only one who's infallible, and that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who never makes mistakes, who's divine, right? As far as the tabi'een or the sahaba or the rightly guided, like Bukhari or Muslim or those, alhamdulillah, mashallah, we should be very grateful for the knowledge that they have passed down to us. However, in the right mind in every human being who has an intellect, an ounce of ability to think, the very thing that you should do, even the Quran encourages, is to think, to reason, to ponder, to analyze, to look, to verify, to make sure. We can't just take whatever somebody said and run with it. To do that, and the contrary, even the Quran says to blindly follow will lead you to Jahannam. There's many people who are in Jahannam, who will be in Jahannam, simply because they blindly follow without verifying. Right? So with Bukhari, the things that we have from him, we hope that it is correct, right? But this is what, when specialists, when we, for example, doctors, there's specialists who specify in one's field. We have people who specify in hadith, and all they do all day long is work on hadith, what happened, who, what, all of these questions, and they bring it down to the most authentic and they grade it, right? Even then, every person with intellect must still do their due diligence. You can't just take something for the simple reason nowadays things can be forged. People can say things and misinterpret. All these possibilities are there. Again, it's everybody's liable for their part of due diligence. You do the absolute best. And you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet as He stated in the Quran. If you have any question, any doubt, any concerns, always go back to Allah and His Rasul. and then you work down from there. Anything that contradicts it, you leave away, and anything that would that makes it correct or even follows it or even expands on it, then that's again your due diligence. You have to make sure, because numerous times it happens that there are munafiqs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this word, where they pose as Muslims, but they make wrong things. And for the last 20 years, this has been happening so much. I mean, it's a political thing I don't want to get into,
Okay.
but there's people who
Munir,
pose as Muslims.
we got a number of other people. I apologize.
Okay.
I'll put you back at the list. Khadija, please go ahead.
Peace be upon to you all, my brothers and sisters, and I have a question to Munir. I personally, my focus is personally to God alone. When I read the Quran, I saw the Prophet brought this Quran. I'm sorry for my broken English, and many years we don't have proof that he was a prophet, but now we have the proof that Muhammad was the prophet of God, and Dr. Rashad Khalifa is a messenger of the covenant of God. My question is, do you have any proof that the writer of the hadith, like Bukhari and co, are are divinely authorized to write anything or deliver any messages from God? Or do you not have proof? Because we have proof that these persons only delivered the messages of God, only from God. Do you have any proof that this person are have the author or get the I'm sorry, from God,
Authority.
that authority to deliver something from God?
Okay. So Munir, I got you on the list. Just if God willing, you can try to remember that question, and I'll have it in my head
Just
if you need a refresh.
just one thing. Just can you ask the sister to clarify what when she said, we just now confirmed, or before we had doubts. I lost that part. What does she mean by that?
This is referencing the mathematical structure of the Quran, which is an entire conversation in itself. So
Oh wow.
we'll stick with Hadith for now.
Wow.
Just because, yeah, it's like this is gonna balloon. Some other people asked some questions too in the chat, but just apologies in the sense. Let's try to keep the topics at least concise. So, when it's your turn, you can address the question regarding the how do we know that Bukhari, Muslim, and the other collectors of Hadith were authorized. But hold off first. So, Task, Salam alaikum. You're up next. Then Navid, and then Munir. It'll be you. Hi, Task. Ask you there. Man, I got so excited that you're gonna actually you put your name.
Wait.
Turn. Oh. All right, he's being a wise guy. Navid, you're next.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of different topics. I think we need to kind of narrow it down a little bit. I think a good position would be the Shahada. So I just want to ask Brother Munir, what is his Shahada and what is the basis for his Shahada? I think that's a really important starting point to get. We want to get to we can talk about Hadith and all this other stuff all day. We want to get to the foundational practices. We want to see where we're going with all this, right? We all have an ideology. We want to see now what is the practical implementation of these ideologies and analyses. So that's my position. Is my question is about the Shahada. We can take it from there.
Perfect. So Munir, you got two questions. Again, it's up to you however you want to address. But
Okay, so previous one of what was it? Who gave the authority to Bukhari? Something along the line. Well, let me rephrase it this way again. When you and I'm just going to use like an analogy here. We have doctors today, and sadly, even though we have a lot of doctors, many of them are being ignored, but nevertheless, we have doctors, and we know when a person is labeled as a doctor is that not only did they go to the school, they learned all these things, they follow the procedures. They're people who we are sure that they follow the system, and we feel confident enough to be able to go to them, ask them personal, very personal questions, and nevertheless we either we're comfortable with them. In a similar manner, when it comes to scholars of Islam, they are people who are specialists, people who we are very comfortable, very confident that they have learned the necessary, procedures of the religion. They're not just regular, Ahmed and Hamdan, just regular Tom, Dick, and Harry, in this case, where they just, read a few things and we just take it. No, these are people who we are very confident that they have done it. Now, again, like I said earlier, there is due diligence. You can't just take any random book and say it has the name of Bukhari, so it must be from him. No, you need to be able to follow the system, right? And there is a system they also followed, which is Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the teacher, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is where the religion, it's everything's for. Now that's question number one. Now number two, what was number two again? Yeah, the Shahada. Well, that's a very interesting question of its own. Now, I don't know if you're aware, there's multiple kitabs who teach about the Shahada, but in its basic form, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Worship none other than Allah. And that part, let me make specific here. You can't worship yourself. You can't worship money. You can't worship anyone else. You can't worship rocks. Nothing. You completely only worship Allah, meaning you take up His law, you follow His rules, His commandments, everything that He has ordained, and have that leads to Allah. And the teachers who have taught Him is where we get this information from. So when you say La ilaha illallah, we're acknowledging and declaring outright that we worship nothing else except Allah and His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last one. Like I said, there's an entire kitab, multiple kitabs that go into detail. There's volumes and volumes just only on La ilaha illallah. When in the simplest term, that's the answer.
Navid, you're
Okay,
next.
yeah, I can. And do you want to just transition to kind of a dialogue now? If there's no one else, I can just kind of guide this
Sure.
conversation
Yeah, we
a
can
little
go back
bit.
and forth, but if anyone else wants to
Yeah,
something
chime
else.
in. Feel free. Yeah, okay. So, just real quick, just very briefly on the hadith, the doctors. So, recent studies of medical errors have estimated errors that may account for as many as 251,000 deaths annually in the United States, making medical errors the third leading cause of death. We're talking about people that went to school for at least 16 to 20 years, devoted their lives nonstop, year-round to study, plus all of the experience that they got as a doctor. So if we are going to put ourselves in the hands of so-called experts, we could see where that leads us in any field. The bottom line is this. We can either rely on God, we can rely on words of God, or we can rely on words of men. There's 20,000 hadith, there's 6,346 verses. If you want to spend your time, if anybody wants to spend their time studying 20,000 hadiths and all of their interpretations and all of their studies, they can do that, but they're doing it at the expense of the words of God. So ultimately, what it comes down to is the words of God versus the words of man. On this topic of Shahada, I deliberately asked this question. So we don't have this Shahada that you just mentioned in the Quran. I take that back. It's mentioned one time. One set of people do make, they bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger. And now is a dialogue. I just want to ask if you know who those people are in the Quran.
Is there anybody else that's going to talk? Or it's just me and you?
No, it's just me and you now until someone else wants to talk.
Yeah, for the time being, until anyone else chimes in.
So do you know who does this Shahada in the Quran? Who bears witness to Muhammad in the Quran? Do you know?
Well, what do you mean bear witness to Muhammad? I mean, do you not acknowledge that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the
No.
prophet?
Bearing witness, right. So bearing witness is a very specific thing. So for example, the Quran tells us, let me put the verse. The Quran tells us that Muhammad is not a witness to God speaking with Moses on the slope. You can't bear witness to it, right? So 2444. You were not present on the slope of the western mount when we issued the command to Moses. You were not a witness. So can Muhammad bear witness to that incident? He can't, right? He could say, I believe in Moses, I believe it happened, but he
I don't
can't
know
bear
if you,
witness to it.
I don't know if you're doing this deliberately or is this a misunderstanding. I mean, the Shahada is about the individual, you, me, anyone
Right.
who bear witnesses that Allah is only the Lord to worship and no one else, and that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final and last messenger.
So did you
What it is.
right? So did you
It's
witness
it's, it's
Muhammad?
it's it's not about whether we witnessed him or it's not about whether Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there in other prophets. No, it's not about that. It's us acknowledging, like right now, any person, doesn't matter who, that person coming to the understanding that there's only one God worthy of worship, and that God has the final and last prophet, which is Muhammad. That's what it is.
All right, so let's just address it this way. I try to go one by one, but let's just dump these here and let's just go through them. All right, so number one, Muhammad himself didn't. We learn from the Quran that the Shahada came from Abraham. So Muhammad didn't say his own name in his Shahada. It sounds like you believe he does. Do you want to change that position or do you want to persist in that point of view?
Oh, excuse me. I just got shocked. I'm shocked at this. So, are you?
No, I'm just asking a very
Are
simple question. Do you believe Muhammad said his own name in the Salat? Yes or no?
in the salah,
Yes.
like in the salah that you pray?
Yes.
The question itself is kind of weird. What exactly are you asking here?
I think it's a pretty basic question. It's a fundamental practice of our religion. God says the most important duty in our religion is the remembrance of God, and the most valuable tool we have is the contact prayer Salat 2945. The question is, how did he do the Salat? Did he say his own name in it or not?
No, I'm actually kind of curious here. What kind of what part in the salah is mentioned the name of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What part of it?
Tashahud. Tashahud.
Oh my goodness! Are you saying the tashahud as the salah? Because I'm not trying to get the wording here. Are you referring salat as the salah that we pray, or are you?
Yeah.
Salawat?
When you're talking to me, when I say the Salat, I'm talking about a specific practice of worshiping and I hope you agree with this. There's 17 units a day. There's 5 times a day. You do wudu to prepare for it. I hope we're on the same page on this because I'm not talking about other stuff. And we kind of got diverged about the other topics. I'm talking about the specific practice of Salat. Do you believe the Prophet Muhammad said his own name in his Salat?
Okay. Are you talking about the last part, the tashahud, at-tahiyatu lillah? Are you talking
Not
about
the
that part?
It's not just the last
It could
one,
be the
though.
second. It doesn't matter. The tashahud.
Exactly.
Are you talking about that one? Is that the one you're talking about specifically?
Correct. Yeah. When you say the Shahada,
yes, he has to say exactly what's there, and that's what we do is exactly what he did. Did he not say, "Pray as I pray"? Pray as you see me praying.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a circular argument because I'm going to say you didn't see him pray, and you're going to point to the hadith. So we're not going to get anywhere that way.
No. Let's not even get to the hadith. So, do you not pray now?
Oh, I do pray, but do you remember when I told you where did we talked about this already? I understand. We gave you a lot of information.
Munir might have not been on the.
Yeah, I wasn't here. I'm actually curious. How do you pray? How do you pray?
So we pray according to the Quran. It tells us in 2173. I put the verse. We learned that because I thought we talked about this, but okay, it's fine. I could explain again. Prophet Abraham is the one that established the Salat. He established all the practices of the prayers.
Don't go up that far. Just how do you perform your daily prayers? Just take one, for example, 2 rakah. Or in fact, matter of fact, 1 rakah.
You're just curious? Oh, you're just curious? You want me to tell you? All right, let's do it. All right, so
I'm curious. I'm curious because you don't believe in hadith. So I want to know, person who only believes in the Quran, how do you pray?
Right. So I do it the same way as Muhammad. Where do you think Muhammad got his prayer from?
No. You tell me how you do it. I'm just
no. I know, but but you said we will have to do it like Muhammad. So I'm asking you, how did Muhammad do it? How did Muhammad learn how to pray?
This is going to be a contradiction from your part, though, because you did not see Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nor did you see him pray.
I don't need to. Yeah, I don't need to. That's why. I don't need to. I don't need to see Muhammad because I know what he did. I'm not bearing witness to what he did.
And that's what I'm asking. Explain to me how you pray. That's what I don't know.
Right. So so I guess you missed this part. Basically, 1664 says, "We revealed this scripture to you to point out for them what they dispute and to provide guidance and mercy for people to believe." So what we were explaining earlier with the whole concept of Abraham being the founder of this religion in terms of all the practices, worships, and rites, he started the religion. He had a set of practices, worships, and rites passed down from his son, Ismail. Obviously, all the other prophets from the other side of the lineage, they did them too. It's in the Quran. But passed down from his son Ismail through this, what we call the group of Hunafa, Hanifs, to the Prophet Muhammad.
My
Right?
apologies here. My apologies. I'm
Yeah.
asking you, how do you pray? Forget the history
So,
part.
do
Forget
you
about
want wudu?
how.
Okay, should I include wudu or no?
At the moment, don't even include it. At the moment,
I mean,
don't even include it. Just how.
Okay,
I,
don't
I
even
can
include it. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to just say, just to for clarity, right? Like we say the Fatiha, we do the bowing, the prostrating. You know, everything it's probably going to be identical to what you do. The aspect is, and this is what Navi's getting to, is using the Quran, we remove the impurities.
And what exactly is the imperative? Please look at
Yes.
it from the point of view. I don't know. In fact, this is the first time that. How long am I actually talking to you guys? Like, what is it? Like nearly an hour now. This is the first time I'm actually talking this long to someone who doesn't believe in the hadith. So there's a lot of curiosity in this point. Genuine curiosity. I want to know
Yeah.
how you
You do it.
guys pray.
I
Because
agree, and I agree with you, and I think we should be accommodating of you, and we should be understanding that if someone has heard something their entire life one way, and then they're fundamentally told it's a different way, that's a pretty significant shift. So, I mean, I totally agree that we need to be very patient, gentle, and kind towards addressing these
please,
issues. So
please,
let me
please.
start with the basic. Let me just say how to do salat. Even let's just say we skipped the wudu or we already did the wudu. So the first thing I do, inshallah, is I say my knee. So right now I just did Maghrib. So I say Nawaitu Salat al Maghrib. Right? So I do my niyyah, and I raise my hands, my ears, and I do the niyyah. So I did the niyyah now. Now afterwards I recite the Fatiha. Obviously I'm standing, in case some people don't know, I'm standing in the direction of Mecca. It's in the Quran, right? So I'm standing in the direction of Mecca. I did my niyyah, and I just did the Nawaitu Salat, right? So now I recite the Fatiha. So I recite the Fatiha. It's 7 verses. I can recite it for you if you want, but maybe you already know. You know. Okay, recite the
Skip that part.
Fatiha.
Yeah.
And then I say Allahu Akbar. We go to ruku position. Subhana Rabbil Azim. Subhana Rabbil Azim. Subhana Rabbil Azim. Then you say Sami Allahu liman hamida. Allahu Akbar. We're in sujood. In sujood we say Subhana Rabbil A'la. Subhana Rabbil A'la. Subhana Rabbil A'la. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Subhana Rabbil A'la. Subhana Rabbil A'la. Subhana Rabbil A'la. Allahu Akbar. We're standing back up in the first position. This is 1 rakat. Okay? This is 1 rakat. Now at 2 rakat, when I'm still sitting, after that second part of the sujood, is the tashahud. We say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. And I do the additional rakat. If it's the 3rd rakat or the 4th rakat or whatever, it's the last rakat. Say assalamu alaikum. Or so on the on the last rakat, I do tashahud again. If it's just 2 units for fajr, you just do that and you're done. If it's 3 units or 4 units, then you do it on 2nd and 3rd or 2nd and 4th. They say assalamu alaikum. You look to your right. Assalamu alaikum. You look to your left. This is the salat. It's very purified. It's very clean. It's a very complete practice.
Okay. Question. When you make your niyyah, right? Do you say Allahu Akbar first, or you just straight go into Fatiha?
I say my niyyah. Either I say Nawaitu Salat al Maghrib, Allahu Akbar. Then I say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. The first time you missed that part, so I just okay.
Oh,
So,
I apologize. Yeah, I thought I said it, but I apologize.
Okay. And then the tashahhud. You just only say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, or do you start from at-tahiyat?
No. I thought I said that too, but I can repeat it. I know I give a lot of information.
You skipped it, which is why I'm kind of.
No, I said it. I think I said it. Did everyone hear me say it? I think I said it. I said
No,
Ashhadu an. What's that?
I thought you said it.
I didn't hear it.
Okay.
Which is why I'm actually
and
asking, because I was like.
and it's here too. It's in the VC1 chat. So it says Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah.
Oh, so you don't start from at-tahiyatu lillah.
No.
You don't start.
No.
I see. And now, here's a question. I mean, and you got this from the Quran?
I got to this purified form using the Quran. Yes.
Okay. And where in the Quran, which ayat in the Quran does it repeat? Which ayat does that say in the salah, in the ruku, you say this?
Yeah, all the ayahs that says to do salat.
I basically put an article. It has all the expressions, and then where in the Quran you find them as well.
All right, I'm actually kind of curious. Let me say this. So, and should I and scroll up maybe if I missed it. Don't do that, Papa. Yeah. Yes, Papa.
God bless you for talking with while your kids are on.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, Papa. What's up? Yes. That's Hikmah. Oh, go to Mama. Go to Mama. Go. All right. So, excuse me. So here, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. I see that part, but where does the ayat that says Subhana Rabbi Ala, Subhana Rabbi Ala, Subhana Rabbi Al Azim? Because I was under the understanding that that's in the hadith, and you guys don't believe in a hadith. So,
No, it's in the Quran. The verses are all there.
I'm just seeing these slide pictures here. So the verse in Surah Al-Nahl, is that the one you're referring to? Surah Al-Nahl in 16, ayah 44, 64, is that the one?
Short, like just because we can go into these details. The concept.
Please do, because I mean,
no,
I
think
not, yeah.
it's better to get a high level, like a 10,000-foot view. Basically, the concept is the salat has been around since the time of Abraham. The aspect is people have added things to the salat. So when God tells us in Surah 2, verse 3, that the believers are those who observe the salat, it means that it's something that's in existence. So all we do is we take the existing Quran, the salat, and we filter it through the Quran to basically pull out the impurities. This is what Navid was trying to articulate, but it seemed like just because, again, you haven't talked to someone of this belief, I think it just caught you off guard. So, if you go to, say, for instance, Saudi Arabia at Hajj, they're doing the salat. What you'll notice is that they basically have added additional things to it. And interesting enough, and I don't know what your stance is, they don't say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim when they do the Fatiha. The aspect is the salat's been there, and it's always been there since the time of Abraham. Downside is that it's been distorted through time. The purpose of the Quran, and this was what 1664, was it 64 or 40? Yeah, 64. It says that the purpose of the Quran is to clarify matters that have been disputed.
Mm-hmm. All right. No, very interesting, because I've never actually ever heard of this type of salah in my life, to be honest, which is, and I find it pretty intriguing, because in the Quran there is, from what I understand, there is no ayat. Yes, what happened? Come, sorry, come. Sorry about that. My biggest. Apologies. So I've never seen an ayat in the Quran that says when you're in a ruku or variation of it,
No, it
say
doesn't.
Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. It doesn't exist.
No. These
Right?
these details, interesting enough, right? These details are not in the Quran. Like, oh, when you do an ayat before. Also, what's interesting too is there is no single hadith that basically explains from end
So
to end.
where do you get it from? Then where do you get it from?
The Milata Ibrahim, right? When Muhammad God told Muhammad to follow Milata Ibrahim, it means that this is a practice that's been around. We see in Surah 8, verse 35, that even the disbelievers at the time of the Prophet were doing salat. That this practice was preserved by God through the generations. And
where did you find it? Where did you guys find it? Because Millat Ibrahim, because we know Ibrahim alayhi salam was at least 3,000-4,000 years ago from us. So
I mean, there's
where
millions
did you
of
find
people.
it?
Yeah, you go and take, say, for instance, the traditional way that it's done, the salat is done, and all you're doing is you're filtering it through the Quran to pull out the impurities. Tendency of the religious audience typically is they always want to add more to a religion. If you look at the dietary prohibitions, for instance, like the example of the children of Israel, God says that the children of Israel, all food used to be lawful for them until they imposed more prohibitions upon themselves. Right? You look at the just the laws, the customs of the children of Israel that God uses in the Quran. The tendency they have is always, in essence, creating new laws, new restrictions, new prohibitions.
They were hard-headed. They were very hard-headed.
We're no different, right? God puts this as an example for us to learn from. And the concept is you take these practices, and again, you just filter them through the Quran, because the Quran's going to pull out those impurities. Going back, going back to the concept of the Shahada, right? So 19 times in the Quran, the Shahada is mentioned in la la illallah, or one shape, form, or another. Only time that you see Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah is in Surah 63, and it's done by the hypocrites. It says, when the hypocrites come to you, they say, we bear witness you're God's messenger. Because God bears witness that the hypocrites are liars. So for us, when we say, for instance, the Shahada, we say, okay, look, 19 times in the Quran, God tells us, Surah 3, verse 18, it says, the Shahada of God, the angels, the knowledgeable, is la 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 la, right? That's it. If all of a sudden we're going to say, you know what, that's nice, but I'm just going to add the servant of God next to God's name, for us, we see this as shirk. That this is not the Shahada. The Shahada has always been, since, before the dawn of man, has always been la 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 la. And this is the thing that we bore witness. You touched on this verse in Surah 7, verse 172. Before we came here on earth, we all bore witness that there's no other God beside God. This is something that's innate in us. In Surah 30, verse 30, God says this is the instinctive knowledge, monotheism, that God has placed inside the human being. And we're just, good.
Sorry.
We're just going back to our roots, in essence.
So, and going back to my question, so if we say that the salat came from Abraham, and then we're saying that we have to say Muhammad's name, but Muhammad himself added his own name, there seems to be a problem, right?
There's
something
the
wrong
problem.
with that.
The only problem here, or the only thing here that I'm kind of trying to understand here is you guys don't seem to follow Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You follow Ibrahim.
Well, that's what God tells us in the Quran. Do you have another verse?
No. So you guys just don't follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
We accept him. Of course, we accept him and we
You
follow him by
follow him,
following the Quran.
but you don't follow him.
No, we follow him because
you clearly don't pray the way he does, and you
it's
have trouble with the Shahada, the part that bear witness to him, right? So clearly there is a problem with you guys and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you're leading a lot more to Ibrahim alaihi salam.
so.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead, Nabi.
Sorry.
I'll mute myself. I don't want to be redundant.
Yeah, no, I didn't. You can. So let's see what the Prophet said himself. Let's look at what came out of the Prophet's mouth.
What was it?
Okay, 6162. I just put the verse. Say, my contact prayers, salat, my worship practices, my life and my death are all absolutely devoted to God alone, the Lord of the universe. This is what the Prophet said. If you want to talk about hadith, this is exactly what came out of his mouth, right? So if you're going to tell me this theory that Muhammad added his own name to the salat, here he's telling you that's not the case. So if you have another verse to back it up, I'd love to see it.
There's a verse in the Quran, Surah Al-Hajj.
Yeah? Surah Hajj.
The last
Let's look
ayat
at
of
it.
Surah Al-Hajj.
Yeah, let's pull it up.
Very last ayat of Surah. The very last ayat. What is it? It says, وَجَاهِدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جِهَادِهِ هُوَ اجْتَبَاكُمْ وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ مِلَّةَ أَبِيكُمْ إِبْرَاهِيمَ هُوَ سَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَفِي هَذَا لِيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا وَتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ فَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِاللَّهِ هُوَ مَوْلَاكُمْ فَنِعْمَ الْمَوْلَى وَنِعْمَ النَّصِيرُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over here is telling us He's specifically given us a message. In fact, in some cases, you can say that this ayah is more than enough to any individual who seeks Allah and wants to know the truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, strive and struggle. Right? Strive and struggle on this path. And He makes it specific.
Yeah.
You can read the ayah. He makes it specific.
Yeah,
He says,
so I think you missed it because we gave this ayah like 6 times already.
no, but you're
So I
emphasizing
guess
on some
you
parts
missed it.
of
We
the
put a
ayah.
lot of, I don't know if you're following along. We're in VC1. We literally put this exact ayah 6 times so far.
No, I'm going along
There
with
must
the
be some kind of, there's some kind of
words here.
disconnect. No, I understand, but there's some kind of disconnect here. Like, we literally talked about this ayah at least 5 to 10 times in the last hour. So there is some kind of breakdown of communication.
Perhaps, because there's
So
parts of
what does
this
this
ayah
ayah say? So what does this ayah say? What is this ayah?
It clarifies specifically.
Yeah, what is the name of the religion here? How is the religion described here?
It clarifies. This ayah clarifies it. It says, "Millat abikum Ibrahim," the millah of Ibrahim.
Exactly.
هو سماكم
Exactly.
المسلمين من قبل. That he's the one who has given us his name of Muslimin. What does it say after that?
Exactly.
What does it say after
Exactly.
that? What does it say after that? وفي هذا ليكون الرسول عليكم شهيدا, and this messenger who is a witness amongst you right now. You're missing that part. You're deliberately or maybe unintentionally, you're missing this part. And this is what kind of is a bit of a shock
So
to me, because
do you
you're
want to
jumping.
should we do an Arabic analysis of that verse? Is that what you're saying? Because you're disputing the translation. This is what you're saying? So
No,
do you
no,
want me?
I don't
No,
think.
Okay.
no.
I
What
think
I'm
Go
there's
ahead,
trying to
a
Pranav.
understand
dispute in the
here, what
translation.
I'm trying to understand here, what I'm trying to understand here is whether you follow Prophet Muhammad or whether you follow Ibrahim. That's what I'm trying to understand. Which one do you follow? Which one is your prophet? Which one are you leading to? Because
So what?
in many
Right. So
in many cases,
I do what God tells me to do in the Quran. What does God tell you when they ask you who do you follow? What does God say in the Quran to say? How many verses say answer them religion of Muhammad, and how many verses say religion of Abraham? Maybe I'm making a mistake. Maybe you have a verse that I haven't seen. If you have a
okay,
verse that says you have to say that you follow the religion of Muhammad, I'd love to see it. But all the
okay.
verses I put like 5 verses. I don't. Maybe you didn't see the verses. I put 5 or 6 verses. Every time you're asked what religion you follow, you say Milad Ibrahim. I follow the religion of Abraham. If you're
Okay.
disputing that, then I don't know what to say at this point.
No, absolutely. How about Surah Al-Fath, the last ayat of Surah Al-Fath? The last ayat of Surah Al-Fath.
I know what you're referring to. Let's look at it. No, not 48. Surah 48.
Oh, I thought you said the Fatih.
Fath. Surah Al-Fath, not Fatiha, the Fath, Surah Al-Fath. إنا فتحنا لك فتحا مبينا. That's that ayah. Or that surah. But the last ayah is محمد رسول الله والذين
Yeah,
معه
what should,
أشداء على
right.
الكفار رحماء بينهم.
What am I looking at in this verse?
What is Allah telling us in this ayah?
In this verse, it tells us the quality of the believers. It tells us this attributes of Muhammad and those who are with him.
Start from the very beginning. Muhammad
Let's read
Rasulullah.
it. Muhammad, the messenger of God, and those with him are harsh and stern against the disbelievers, but kind and compassionate amongst themselves. You see them bowing and prostrating as they seek God's approval. As they seek God's blessings and approval. Their marks on their faces. Their marks are on their faces because of prostrating. This is the same example as in the Torah. Their example in the gospel is like plants that grow taller and stronger and please the farmers. He thus enrages the disbelievers. God promises those among them who believe and lead a righteous life, forgiveness, and a great recompense.
Mhm. So wouldn't this be a golden ticket for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it specific for us to also follow the Millah of Ibrahim? He specifically mentions to us the Torah, the Injil, and this prophet, and he says those with him. And we understand this, those with him as his followers, those who accept him, those who do what he does, those who take his orders, those who follow him. Right? Allah has made it specific. So are you guys from this, or are you with the Millah of Ibrahim?
So
Can
I
I
don't get what you're saying. What
can
does
I
it say
can I
here?
try to chime
Oh,
in?
go ahead.
And apologies for but I just feel like there's a communication disconnect. We believe we're following Muhammad because Muhammad was commanded to follow the religion of Abraham. Right? Abraham was following basically the practices that God gave him. So in essence, if we're saying, yeah, do we follow Muhammad? Of course we follow Muhammad. But if you follow Muhammad, then you follow Milat Ibrahim. I think it's one of these things that it's the regress. Where it sounds like for you, it's like, okay, it's the religion of Muhammad. And what we're saying is God is telling Muhammad to follow the religion of Abraham. In essence, if you want to follow Muhammad, you follow his message, which is the Quran, and his practices, which is Milat Ibrahim. So hopefully that clarifies.
No, but then this is like a paradox almost, because Ibrahim alayhi salam, as Allah mentioned in the Quran, he's the Imam of the human beings, the people. He's the Imam, right? As Allah has, put him on that. And at the same time, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is of everyone, including Ibrahim alayhi salam. So in one sense, Ibrahim is the leader of all of mankind. And then you have Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's the prophet to everyone, including Ibrahim alayhi salam, as well as the angels. So
Yeah,
When
that interpretation, unless you can back it with the Quran, it doesn't state that, right? We put numerous verses where it says Muhammad was no more than a messenger like the messengers before him. Should he die or get killed in battle, would you turn around and flee? God is
but that
constantly. But
okay.
so the concept is God tells us in the Quran 4 times not to make any distinction among God's messengers. And this is kind of the earlier topic. God can distinguish, right? God can raise some and lower others. As far as we're concerned, we treat them all as one and the same because they all came preaching the worship of God alone. When it comes to our worship practices, right, our rites of our religion, these all stem from Abraham, right? The Hajj, the Salat, the Zakat, Siyam, these were all the religion, the practices that Abram brought down. Muhammad was given the Quran, right? It's an honorable thing, and we follow the Quran. The concept, if we want to follow Muhammad, then we follow the Quran. In Surah 21, verse 10, it says, "I've revealed you herein your message." Pull it up really quick. I don't want to misquote. It says, "We have sent down to you a scripture containing your message. Do you not understand?" Meaning that the message of the prophet, right? The delivery, the only responsibility he had was to deliver this Quran. And by following the Quran, then in essence, we're following literally what came out of the prophet's mouth.
But again, you follow Ibrahim. So
Well, I
it
mean,
seems to it
did Abraham bring the Quran?
Who do you think Muhammad followed? I'm just curious. Who do you think Muhammad followed?
okay.
I'm just curious. You could just tell me. Who do you think he followed?
Let me ask you this question. This is
No,
actually
no, no.
pretty.
I really don't want you to get out of this question. Please just answer me. Who do you think Muhammad followed?
Who did he follow? He followed the Millah of Ibrahim. But what is the Millah
That's
of
right.
Ibrahim?
Well, I have
So
a verse for it. It's Surah 9, verse 1, 2, 3. It says,
what
"We
what
inspired you,
is
Muhammad,
what
to
is
follow the
what is the
religion of
Millah?
Abraham."
What is the Millah of Ibrahim?
All of the practices and worships,
What is
all
it
of the rites of the
specifically?
religion. He built the
What is it?
Hajj. I'm
No,
sorry,
no,
he
no.
built the Kaaba. He built the Kaaba and established Hajj. He
Mhm.
established Salat. He established Zakat. All of the practices from Abraham. So when Muhammad says, "Follow Millah Ibrahim," follow all of these rites, rituals, and practices of Abraham. And he said,
Okay.
"Yes, sir," and he did
So
it. He never
here's the
added his
question.
name. Your
Here's
theory
the
is
Wait,
that
wait,
he
wait,
added his
here's
own
the
name.
question. Here's the
wait. Hey
question.
guys,
Here's-
sorry, Munir. One pause. I gotta go pray. Not so random is asking if he can jump in to ask a question. And then yeah, God willing, if you guys can just just try to take turns, that'd be great until I get back.
Sure.
Yeah, so kind of going back to this point, basically you asked me what's Millah Ibrahim. I told you it's all the practices of worships and everything. And I apologize if I've raised my voice. I'm very passionate and excited about these
No,
subjects.
no,
I don't mean any
I see
disrespect
that.
whatsoever. Basically what we're saying is
Because
Muhammad is asked, yeah, go ahead.
what I wanted to know is this. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in that ayah to follow the Millah of Ibrahim, it happened for a reason. It happened for a reason. Right? It didn't just come out of nowhere. And at the time, we know there in Makkah, many things were happening. There were pagans, there were some Christians. There was a bunch of people there, and many of whom were claiming to follow Ibrahim alayhi salam, but clearly were doing things out of their own pockets. For example, when they were making the tawaf around the Kaaba naked. Now, in their understanding, they were doing it because they felt impure and that they were not from the bloodline and that they weren't worthy of it. So they were doing it for, you could say, a noble reason, but nevertheless, they pretty much, it's like Iblis got to them, right? And they were claiming to follow the Millah of Ibrahim. In fact, the pagans of Mecca who worshipped 300 gods.
Yeah, so I think you raise a good point. Basically, that's where the Quran comes in. Anything that is disputed in any of the practices that is attributed to Abraham is purified, specified, and modified in the Quran. So that's why we don't have any problems.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was not only exonerating, but
It's very difficult to
making
hear
this.
you right now.
How about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
we hear you better. Yeah.
Yeah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was exonerating, but also making to us very specific that Ibrahim alayhi salam, or these people were lying about Ibrahim and they were doing things out of their own pockets.
And anything that
Right?
was wrong is purified in the Quran. So we don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. So
So
now we have all the purified practices.
But in that way, at the same time, the religion or the specifications how we worship Allah, with the way Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us, it's a bit different than the way Ibrahim alayhi salam did it.
It's not. That's not true.
Yes,
God talks
because
about salat in the singular. There's one salat. This
no,
theory
no,
that there's
no, I'm
there's
not
tens
talking.
or dozens of different salat,
But wait,
it
wait,
doesn't
wait.
hold.
I'm
Yeah.
not talking about the salah alone. This religion, Allah tells us in the Quran, it is complete. لِيُظْهِرَكُمْ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ. It's complete.
Right.
It supersedes all other forms of way.
Do you know when that verse showed up? Do you know when that verse came?
Near the end, when Allah subhanahu wa
Right.
ta'ala made it
It's like
specific.
literally the second to last or third to last from the end.
Exactly. Now, with this deen, it's a combination of many things in many aspects. With Ibrahim alayhi salam, we know Ibrahim alayhi salam did not have a nation. He didn't have an ummah. He didn't have, people that followed him. He didn't have,
The Quran said that he was his own ummah.
Exactly.
He made him an ummah.
Exactly. So therefore, there's a unique difference between Ibrahim alayhi salam and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
But wasn't Ishmael his ummah? And Ishaq
Not
his
necessarily, no. Not necessarily, no. They were his children. And Allah has honored them through the promise of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and He had made them prophets. But technically, no, they're not a part of His ummah. Because when you say you're a part of the ummah of that prophet, means on Judgment Day, you will be resurrected and a part of that prophet's group, his people.
Right. So I'm hearing a lot of commentary and I'm not hearing a lot of verses. And this is the problem because I understand. Then you're going to go back. No, I know, but then you're going to go back to the hadith. No, I understand, but then we're going to go back to the hadith, and then we're going to run into problems again.
I haven't even mentioned the hadith.
I know, not yet. But I'm saying I'm
I'm
going to
just
challenge you
going
on these
on-
things.
No,
Right?
no,
I'm going
I'm
to challenge
just-
you on these things, and then we're going to get stuck in the hadith.
No. I'm just kind of going on the assumption here that you believe that Judgment Day will happen. I'm going on the assumption here that Judgment Day, that you believe Judgment Day will happen, and that event will take place in Judgment Day, and that prophets will be brought, and they will come with their people, and there will be a whole judgment taking place between the prophet and their people. Do you not believe that?
Do you know what the prophet is going to say on the day of judgment?
Which prophet exactly are you referring to?
Prophet Muhammad, the prophet of the Quran. Do you know what he's going to say?
He's going to say a number of things.
No, but do you know what a big major thing he's going to say?
It depends on
We
which
have a
one are you.
we have
which,
a quote.
which
We have a quote
event?
from him. Well,
It
obviously,
depends on which
I'm referring
event
to
you're
the Quran.
referring to. No, which event?
Right.
There's multiple. Judgment Day is 50,000 years long. There's many things that are going to happen there. So which specific event are you referring to?
25:30. This is what Muhammad is going to say. My Lord, my people have deserted this Quran. When does that happen? When does that happen when we desert the Quran? Do you think that's possible to desert the Quran?
Wouldn't you say that the majority of the people have already deserted the Quran?
I would say that. Yes, I would agree with that. Yes, 100%. I agree totally.
So what's happening now?
When we have 20,000 hadiths, and that's the primary focus of all Muslims on earth, we have a problem, right? We can go through this over and over again, but basically what it comes down to is this. That's why I wanted to stick to a fundamental practice. You talk about a fundamental practice, fundamental religion. I wanted to stick to one topic. So that's why I brought up the Shahada. So I told you the Shahada that you're claiming Muhammad said, there's no accuracy in that. Prophet Muhammad never said that Shahada, and there's no historical basis for it. Let me just put it again. We have 7 reasons. We go down the line on these 7.
The trouble with the historic thing here is, without the hadith, you can't get historic things.
I'm fine with hadith. Okay, I'm fine. I'm fine with hadith as a historical basis, but not when it contradicts the Quran.
And that's
look, we're going in this over and over again. I asked you multiple times.
So. There's a specific reason why I'm not narrating any hadith here, because specifically you don't believe in
okay, but here's the issue. Here's the problem. Right, here's the disconnect. You believe, I'm saying that Abraham is the one who brought the salat. You're saying that it was intact. Then when it got to Muhammad, he added his own name to the salat. I'm saying that's impossible. This is the fundamental disagreement. You're insisting that Muhammad added his own name to the fundamental practice of the religion. I'm saying based on the Quran, it's fundamentally impossible. So if you're going to prove otherwise, then you have to show something. But I can guarantee you it's not universal.
How is it fundamentally impossible?
Because the Prophet cannot add practices to the religion.
How not?
Can't. And on top of that, 6162, says that my life, my death, my salat, worship practices are all devoted absolutely to God alone. He would never say this statement and then turn around and add his own name to the salat. That's
Salat isn't
impossible.
but ask Munir, does he dedicate his salat to Muhammad? No.
No. It's not even about dedicating. It's just mentioning. You have any mention of and let's look at this a different way. Right? Let's look at this a different way. We talked about this. I guess the verses that talk about distinction, you don't really accept those the way we see them. It says very clearly in the Quran,
What's his interpretation?
I don't know. I don't know what his interpretation is because
Munir,
he told us multiple times. Yeah.
Munir, write it down so we could have it, so we could have a screenshot of it. Write it down in the VC1 chat. What do you interpret that verse to be?
Which
and
verse
let
is
me
that?
add some.
Which
Do
verse?
not make distinction. Surah 4, I think 100 something. You could show.
There's multiple
Naveed.
ones. There's
I'll get you one right now, inshallah. I'll get you one right now, inshallah. All right.
384 is one.
I want the 4 one. The 4 one was nice because that's like one that I could easily memorize. It's towards the end. All right. Indeed, yeah, cool. 4:152. Here you go. All right. Munir, 4:152. Write down your interpretation so we don't have to pretend we didn't say something or we did.
So
I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Basically, what we're saying is. Yeah, do you want to say something? Did someone just talk other than Muddy Banjo?
No. I think what's happening here is a misunderstanding, between, the brother and the Quran here.
Right. We're saying, right. I'm saying that we don't make a distinction among Muhammad, and I show you 4 verses. You're saying by adding his name to the salat, you're not making a distinction. You're justifying the action, correct?
No, hold up. Let's not jump to the salat part yet. Let's dissect this part of the distinction. What are you against here, or what are you implying when you say there's no distinction between the
It's very simple. If you have
what does the word distinction mean? Munir, what does the word distinction mean? It's that simple.
To be different from one, to blatantly straight be different,
you're elevating
to be
Muhammad.
recognized.
You're elevating Muhammad over all of them. You're blessing Muhammad, but you're leaving the other ones out. Is that not elevating him and making distinction with him? You say that he's the greatest man who ever walked the earth.
Hey guys, time out. Muddy, just be respectful in the sense if someone's talking, let them finish and then speak, so we're not speaking over each other and things get out of control.
I was just going to say, didn't Allah not say that he preferred some prophets over the others? Isn't that not exactly what you're against here?
Right, but that's talking about God.
Well,
hold on.
But
So God and the angels can prefer some prophets over others. We can't. So I think that's another point of disconnect here, right? It says we preferred some over others, but it never says you can prefer some over others, right? There's a major distinction there that I feel like we're just ignoring.
Let Muddy Banjo say his 2 cents.
No, I finished. I want them to talk.
Okay.
I just want to understand. I mean, I just want to ask: can the angels do something on their own?
We don't. You're gonna have to one of them.
If they would, they wouldn't be angels.
Exactly. So they do exactly as Allah commanded them to do.
Right, just like the righteous believers, just like the messengers, just like the prophets.
Okay, so Allah makes a distinction among the messengers, but where does Allah say that we can?
He never does.
But wait.
He never says we can make a distinction.
This is the trouble. This is the problem here, because in one sense, you are... How do I phrase this? When Allah says, we preferred, who's Allah referring to here?
Him and the angels.
He could be referring to himself.
Exactly.
He's referring to himself and the angels. That's right. They can do it, but we can't.
No. It's a plural of respect. It's a plural of respect. Allah saying we, referring to himself. The angels are not included.
No, but that's not true. Hold on, let me just say something. Let me just say something. Sorry. Hold on. So in one of those verses, it says, for example, we gave the Psalms, right? I didn't give him the Psalms. No human gave him the Psalms. So, I mean, there's a distinction. We can argue about whether it's God or the angels or just God alone or both. We can talk about that. But the point of the matter is, for sure, it doesn't include any humans, right? There's no debate about that. We could talk about whether in the creation of the heavens and the earth it includes God, or is it just God, or is it also in the angels? We can talk about that, the royal we, or the royal, this kind of thing. But this doesn't concern our topic right now. The topic right now is God says.
Let's make it very specific, very simple. Let's make it very simple. Angels don't have free will.
That's
right?
fine. Let's agree for
Right.
argument's sake. So yeah, sure.
Angels don't have free will. They can't do anything on their own. So when Allah says we, even if He includes the angels, again, the angels can't do anything on their own. Nothing of their own. But human beings could. We have free will. We have this thing that makes us different. So that's very different. And
Okay, so
when Allah is saying here that we prefer some prophets over the other, that's telling us that Allah Azza wa Jal is specifically telling us that there are some prophets who are superior to other prophets. There are some prophets that Allah has preferred, elevated them higher than the rest. That doesn't mean the other one's inferior. It just means Allah has elevated them higher than the other ones.
That's fine. There's 400 prophets. We already talked about them, and we see the verses in the Quran, but that has nothing to do with making a distinction, right? I can have two sons. Let me say it this way. I can have two sons, right? One of them is a janitor at a local elementary school. Another one is a PhD from Harvard, right? They obviously, one is smarter than the other, more successful. They do wonderful things, right? But if I'm told don't make a distinction between them, I can't celebrate one's birthday and not celebrate the other. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like I get what you're kind of saying. You're saying that since God bless some of them more than others, then we have to make a distinction. But we have multiple verses that says don't make a distinction. So you're trying to get around this very clear commandment. And what did the believers say in these verses? There's 4 of them. It says make no distinction. It says we hear and we obey. So it's better if we don't even argue about it. We just say, look, we won't make a distinction. I get where you're coming from. You're saying, no, I have to include Muhammad in my salat. I have to send him peace and blessings. I have to commemorate him. This is the problem. Because we're saying, and let's just get to the fundamental aspect of the issue here. We're saying God alone is sufficient for our salat. You're saying, no, that's not enough. You cannot say God alone. You must include Muhammad. Then now we're running into a problem.
If I may, the thing is, I don't know when you're saying, you're saying this, you're saying that. Clearly, I haven't said many of these things. I'm implying here that we learned from Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and we follow what he taught us. But
That's
you're
fine.
specifically saying that no, he did not do it, and therefore your rejection of the hadith, makes that a little bit even more troublesome.
We should. So let's focus
going back
on
in circles.
Wait, no. Let's just start focusing on this. So, Munir, what does it mean? Do not make distinction amongst the messengers.